This is the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Let's go nuts! It's Jimmy Nuts! Right out of the door!
With your hosts, Mark Martinez.
Because I'm the Mark and I'm awesome!
The Guru.
Today I'm going to break it down for all you simpleton sweat hogs listening out there in Can Crusher Nation. I don't mean to come out here week after week and toot my own horn, but toot.
And the English Professor.
It is I, the English professor from the County of Kings, speaking the English of the Queen.
Hey, this is former WWE superstar Duke the Dumpster Drosy, and you are listening to the Can Crushers Podcast.
And welcome back to another Can Crushers, our weekly show. We're not in studio yet. We're recovering though. And joining me from their humble abodes is the glorious Guru, the return of the glorious Guru from bowling last week. And in his sophisticated office, the English Professor. Gentlemen, what is on your head, Guru? You look like Marty Skrull.
Well, I was trying to practice. I wanted to make sure I didn't catch anything, doing the wearing the mask thing and everything with, your leprosy and stuff like that.
Thanks. I'm out of quarantine, so I'm good to go.
Oh, okay. I'll take it off then.
Good. Oh, wait, put it back on. You're better looking.
Oh, snap. Even down the street, he's worried about catching something from you.
Right? He's better than 6 feet away.
Yeah.
Much better than 6 feet away. My update real quick, guys, and then we'll just get to chatting about whatever we're going to chat about. I still have no taste, no smell, and I'm still a little fatigued, so possibly another maybe a week off work just so I don't fall asleep at work and kind of build my energy back up. Other than that, I don't have the shits, I don't have a fever, I'm good to go. But
you are a pretty tasteless individual.
Why? Oh,
you don't have any taste.
Yeah, I'm going Miller Lite. I'm going Miller Lite just because I'd like to have a little buzz on tonight for the first time in a month. So, yeah, that's it. How were you guys this week?
All right. Yeah, not bad.
That was a good week. Some time out in the woods, some colder weather. I'm doing good.
You got another deer. Or that wasn't your deer. That was your buddy's deer.
Yeah. Yep. No deer this week. This week is bear season.
Ooh, more bear meat. I like that.
The closest I ever came to a bear was when I thought I saw a bear, but it was only a shadow. A bunch of us were in the woods up behind the high school, camping there. Like where we played softball for gym class. We would camp out there, and I'm telling you, it was the middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning, whatever, and we were walking through the woods, and these two trees formed a shadow that just looked like a bear, and 5 of us guys peed right where we were standing because we thought it was a bear, and then as the closer we looked, we realized it was a shadow. That's the closest I've come to a bear, Chad.
Hey, you guys remember years ago when we were in school that the Bears was always raiding the garbage cans really bad and everything, and at the school and that. I can't remember what year it was, but it's funny, John, you talk about where you were camping because probably 2 miles out the road, that one year where it was really bad, they shot like a 760-pound black bear off of the frickin' power line.
I do remember hearing about that, yeah. Do you guys... Both of you probably weren't in town, actually. There was a bear it was a little cub got stuck in the courthouse trees. It was in town just rummaging around, and they didn't shoot it, but they shot it with a tranquilizer, and it just tumbled out of the tree. You don't remember that, Meatball?
I don't. What year was that? Do you have any idea?
Not at all. We were all out of high school.
Oh, that's happened a couple of times where bears have wandered through town and stuff like that.
Yeah. So there we go. If you don't know where Can Crusher Nation is, it's in the middle of the goddamn woods.
Yeah.
Really-
How did those guys wrestle the bear back in the day? I would be scared shitless. I think Bruno wrestled a bear. I know some of those wrestlers from back in the day that wrestled the bear and a kangaroo.
You guys have got to look up the video of Tracy Smothers wrestling a bear. He was the only man to ever wrestle a bear that shot behind it and took it to the ground.
Wow.
This is going to be me being stupid. They clearly declawed those bears, right? I mean, it was domesticated a little bit too. I can understand that, but they declawed them.
And they put a muzzle on them. But what was funny, if you watch this video, Jim Cornette talked about it, and then I found it. The old-time wrestler took freaking honey, and they held the guy down that was supposed to go out and wrestle the bear, and smeared the honey all over him.
Was that the Three Stooges?
Down his crotch and his ass and everything like that on the outside. And he said he got in there and thought he was going to have an attitude with the bear, and that bear's eyes just got the size of dinner plates. And he said he was violated probably about 400 to 600 times by that bear till he got all the honey.
That was an episode of the Three Stooges. I'm telling you that. That's what it was. And you brought up kangaroos. Yeah, like they can't really get a good jab in, but they rock back on that tail. I've seen YouTube videos where they just kick you and you go. Boom.
Yeah.
Fabulous kangaroos.
The fabulous kangaroos. We do a wrestling podcast here.
Well, that was wrestling.
Yeah. So how much, all right, before we go on to, because this is going to be more enthralling to the people about anything we talk about on SmackDown or Raw. How much would it take you guys to get in the ring with a bear?
6 figures, 100 grand. I don't know. I'd pay off my house and my car, and I think it'd be worth it to get a mauling from a bear for $100,000.
Date with Alexa Bliss from breakfast through evening.
She's now engaged, so
I don't care.
You're done.
You asked, Mark. You asked him.
I did.
And he answered.
I did. I have to go with John. Minimum would be $100,000. Minimum. What would be worse, a punch from Tyson or wrestling a bear? And then we're gonna move on.
A punch from Tyson.
Yeah, I'd have to say a punch from Tyson because you could pull the bear off you.
Right.
Or somebody could.
All right. This is somebody.
Do you play dead? Is that an actual thing, Chad? Can you play dead in the like in the Bugs Bunny cartoon? The bear will sniff you and then walk away.
It says for grizzly bears to do that because they're there to kill you if they attack. If it's a black bear, to fight back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard if it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back. And if you come across a polar bear, just kiss your ass goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah.
See?
I just go by the simple philosophy, if it's a bear, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Shoot
That's a
it.
good philosophy.
Shoot it.
Or shoot it.
Right. I forgot where we said we were going to start. We're going to start at NXT. We enjoyed NXT this week.
Yeah.
Okay, so pull up my notes and we'll start about some NXT. Great show. I would have to say, besides our watch-along, the show of the week. I really enjoyed NXT, and there were some rough patches that I thought, oh my god. But it is what it is. Leon Ruff starts off his first title defense against Johnny Gargano. Gargano looks hot, looks like he's going to possibly win this, and Damian Priest comes out and says, sorry, buddy, and just lays out Ruff in the face for disqualification.
Not a fan. I love Gargano. I'm not a fan of this story. I'm just not. I said last week, NXT is one of the few promotions where belts actually mean something. Kind of cheapens it, putting it on a guy, the North American title, on a guy that's like $165 and pretty brand spanking new to the company. Yeah.
Isn't he like twice the size of John's Andre the Giant buddy? The
No.
fuck is his name?
Austin Theory?
Yeah.
No. No. If you're looking at Austin Theory, Leon Ruff is like Sky Low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how are you looking at Austin Theory? Are you shooting him from the bottom up so he looks bigger or on the level?
Oh, bottom up, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. He's tall. He's 8'9".
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's a big dude.
This is a big dude.
I wish Leon Ruff good things. His style is just not what I enjoy watching. The 4 bounces off the ropes to do one move, just don't like it.
I question why they had to take the title off of Gargano to have this feud with Damian Priest. That's like Leon Ruff has nothing to do with this. I don't know why you're pushing him. What's going to happen after this storyline goes to the side and there's a 3-way match and he loses it to somebody? He's gone again. He's fighting Thatcher and getting his ass beat every week. Yeah.
Is the 3-way match on NXT next week or is it on their takeover?
Did they really say? Because he said, like, I want both of them. I'll fight both of them at the same time, but I didn't hear anything booked.
I could have sworn they said that Regal booked it towards the end of the show.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but
yeah, they're promoting the hell out of the next NXT. It's War Games, so I would bet that's a perfect spot for them to have their blow off right there.
Yeah.
So next we get a blindfold match. This is why we don't see them a lot. This was as worse, as bad, as ridiculous as the first one. This was stupid. I fast forwarded through it. I hated it. They weren't even blindfolds. They were pillowcases.
Yeah.
Stupid.
yeah, this was not a Jake the Snake, Rick the Model Martel WrestleMania blindfold match. Yeah, I invoked the this sucks ass rule and fast forwarded through it.
Dexter Lumis used the cheat code that we used to use on WrestleMania Challenge on Nintendo to beat Hacksaw Jim Duggan. You didn't have to do anything. You just stood in a corner. Duggan would keep running himself into the ropes, into the corners, and knock himself out, and then you pin him. Lumis just had to stand around and let Cameron Grimes dive and jump and smash his own face into the corner, and that's it. It was corny. Guys, I don't know what it is. I'm getting to be a Cameron Grimes fan. Maybe I'm softening in my old age and I just want to laugh and like the lighthearted stuff, but I liked it. It was corny. It was dumb, but, made me laugh.
Hartwell and Candice LeRae against Carter and Casey Catanzaro. We saw a little bit of a promo prior with Shotzi kind of teasing the War Games match, and Team Candice gets the win. So I thought this was a good match. I really like Candice Carter and Casey Catanzaro. I do. They're small. I mean, are they ever going to get a huge push? But they're always that mid-Carter, hillbilly Jim type of guy that you want to root for.
I agree. Very, very good tag team match. The right team won. There was enough of a belief that you thought they had a shot at winning. But I think I kind of figured out from the early onset that Candice LeRae's team was going to win. A very good tag team match. And the women were heavily featured on this show.
Yeah, and they were good. Chad?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I like that the women were heavily featured. It shows that they have the talent level there. Let them just show it. But that's what NXT is.
Yeah.
Let them show their talent. That's why guys, and I'm sure we'll get into it with who wants to go to NXT and who was fired this week and everything. They want to go back to NXT because that's where they can have wrestling matches, not the shit that goes on Monday and Friday nights.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, did you see, Mark, sorry.
I don't care.
Before I forget about this again, did you see that AEW outdid all WWE programs in the ratings this week. They even beat frickin' Raw in the ratings.
Well, that's like
I did see that.
Yeah, that's like saying me playing Fire Pro Wrestling is going to outbeat Raw. I mean, come on.
But I'm talking that they're over the views. They
Yeah.
beat a 3-hour show.
I did.
I think that was a hell of a thing, and I hope it wakes McMahon up. I mean, Survivor Series, it's too late for him to do anything with that matters.
In December's pay-per-view is always a throwaway because we get ready for Royal Rumble.
Yep.
So they're going to do big things for Royal Rumble, I think, because they're going to be moving into the Tampa Bay Rays Stadium here shortly. So they got a little bit bigger venue. Who knows? They're still trying to push to get fans in there for Royal Rumble, but dude, the second wave, as I see on TikTok a lot, this is going to be stupid, but we're on TikTok now, not Can Crushers, my family. Everybody's getting ready to celebrate December 31st, and the time clock's, 11:59 and 58 seconds, 59 seconds. And then at midnight, instead of everybody celebrating, you hear the Mortal Kombat guy say, "Round 2, fight!" So, stupid. You guys didn't get it, but some people might down the road. Nonetheless, Kushida against Arturo Ruiz. Ruiz is one of the guys that came back down after the horrible Raw Underground. What the hell? Shida looks like he was going on a night drinking with his homeboys. Comes out in double denim in a down vest or something. Like, you're going to wrestle like that? He just changes his outfits all the time. Shida's awesome, by the way. I actually like this match, and I could care less about Ruiz.
It's Kushida. Shida is somebody else.
Oh, yeah. Kushida. Yeah, I'm shortening it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this Ruas guy got a promo beforehand, like a little montage or whatever. He looked invincible. So when they went to break, I don't know if they announced who he was going to wrestle before they went to break or not. I didn't know that it was going to be Kushida. Once I saw Kushida, I thought, well, Kushida's probably going to win this match. He's kind of on a hot streak right now. I still thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed the ground game. I enjoyed the strikes. They were pretty hard. There was a wicked pin at the end. It's hard to even describe. Like, their legs were all tangled together, and then Kushida fell back into like that old-fashioned Bob Backlund victory roll type thing. I'm not sure why this guy got a promo just to go out there and lose, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm along the same lines with John. I was like, holy shit, this guy looks like, this is going to be a good match. And then he gets against Kushida, and you're like thinking, are they going to have him pull something out? Kushida snaps, beats the shit out of him? No, they just had a good match, and he got beat. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it didn't really forward anything. It didn't help anybody necessarily.
No.
Just because match is okay, and we've said that. But when you show this guy like, me, big man, and break cinder blocks, and then he goes out there and gets beat cleanly, you're like, what the hell was that about?
What is in your cup there, Incredible Hulk?
Just cough.
Oh. Next matchup was Ember Moon and Toni Storm against Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Team Moon gets the win, but Gonzalez is the one that actually wins this match. She's the one that shined for me in this whole match. I'll talk about this at the end of the NXT thing, but I think there's going to be huge things for Gonzalez here in the near future.
If they don't, I agree with you. If they don't, they're missing the boat on this. Again, not a fan of Ember Moon. I can't get into her, but Toni Storm looking as good as usual, as crisp as usual. Yes, she looks good, Mark. I see your shitty grin.
She looks great.
She looks great as usual. She did very crisp for having not, been very active in that up until the last couple of weeks. I'd say the right team won, but they weren't the winners of the match, so to speak.
Yeah, Toni Storm's got a great look. Very interesting look. She's very good in the ring. Let's not overlook Dakota Kai. I agree. Dakota Kai. I use the word tenacious a lot. She shows tenacity. She's overmatched. She clearly relies on Raquel. This tag team match was better than the other tag team match. Again, the right team won. I loved it. Just very, very good tag team action, double teaming when it called for it. And then at the end, the winners of the previous tag team match come out and jump the winners of this tag team match. So there's some, dare we say, like some women's tag team action on NXT. Do we maybe see at some point the belts traveling over there? Shoot, I said belts while we're talking about WWE. I'm sorry.
I think it only makes sense. The better women, we love Sasha, we love Bayley, we love Becky when she comes back, and even Charlotte, but that's when the line drops there. Nothing against your girls, Shayna Baszler or Nia Jax. I think the women's tag team titles would be served better on NXT with any of those teams.
I'll agree. I do like Shayna and Nia, though. I really do. As a team, they don't exactly get along. They just as soon punch each other in the face as somebody else. I like them a lot. But I wouldn't mind seeing those belts travel. Damn it. I wouldn't mind seeing those titles travel to NXT. I wanted to mention also Candice LeRae on the way out. How good is she? When they're like, get out of here, go back to the locker room. Excuse you? No, don't talk to me that way.
Yeah.
I don't care. You will not speak to me that way. I've said this before. I don't mean any disrespect to Candice LeRae, but Mark, you're going to know the answer to this. You know who from IWC, if you took out Candice LeRae and plucked this person in, it would be just as good.
Raylan.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
Similar look, similar style, similar size, same kind of attitude.
Yeah. Good point. And I like how you actually transitioned in because we have an IWC alum in the next match against Thatcher. It is August Gray, his name now, but we know him as Anthony Green in the Pittsburgh area. And John, I figured you would just love this because Thatcher just works him over.
Yeah, he had some hiccups in the match. You know, the young kid almost got over on him, but Thatcher's just vicious, man. Just vicious. But I think the major story here is what happens. Was it immediately after the match?
Immediately.
Yeah,
Ciampa.
The Sicilian Psychopath. Ciampa, thank you.
Jeez,
Yeah, Ciampa
I knew
comes
you
out.
were going to forget somebody soon.
Yeah, at least once a show. Ciampa comes out and there's just a face-to-face, and I like Thatcher's reaction. I do. Like, hey, I don't have a problem with you. And he leaves. Do we get a heel versus heel program here? What are they doing with Ciampa? Because he hasn't done anything to endear himself to the fans. He's still like, you know, Magnificent Morocco slingshotting people under the ring, which is absolutely devastating.
I think you're going to see the Thatcher he's not hated. People aren't booing him.
Right.
They're just like, they're really appreciating what the hell he's doing on the wrestling without cheering him. Granted, there ain't a ton of fans in there and they're not pumping enough shit in there. But I think he's going to be hell of a comparison here. But he's going to be the Stone Cold where he isn't a fan favorite. He isn't a rule breaker. He'll just kick the shit out of whoever they put in front of him.
And I think we were going to get a storyline between him and Ridge Holland until Ridge got effed up. And
Good point,
I'm a big fan of Ridge Holland, but you throw in Ciampa in there, I wouldn't mind seeing a three-way between those guys. That'd be all right.
And who do you put over here, right? I mean, that's what captivates us is when there's no clear winner. Either one would work, but there's no clear winner here.
Ciampa doesn't get hurt by a loss. I think
Right.
I think Thatcher would get hurt by a loss.
This this is a perfect opportunity to have a couple of match series where it'll make sense, where you're not going to, pull the Randy Orton, I need 555 fucking chances to beat Lucky Charms boy, and then I'm going to lose the fucking title back to him. Spoiler alert. This is where they could have a good 3-match series, maybe a time limit, draw, maybe a double DQ, and then what was that fucking thing that they had, that steel cage thing, the pit or something?
The Punjabi death match.
No, the pit, where they had the guys wrestling in the fucking, wasn't a steel cage, it was like a
octagon
fighters pit or something like that a couple of months ago on NXT. Thatcher was in it.
I know what you mean. I don't remember what the hell the name was. Yeah.
I think that's where they need to put him, because it's just going to be a fucking brawl.
Yeah. Touche.
I'll just say I don't think either of them gets hurt by a loss, Mark. I know you said Ciampa doesn't. I don't think Thatcher does either. I think they're both so good, a loss doesn't hurt either one of them.
Okay. Damian Priest comes out. He's supposedly having a match. They announce him. They never announce who he's going to fight. Gargano comes out and attacks him, and then Ruff comes out, and then all hell breaks loose. John loved it.
Yeah, not really. I just not a fan of Ruff.
No, Chad's out.
You know who I thought Ruff was?
Cheeseburger.
After looking at him this week? Cheeseburger from Ring of Honor.
I did too.
That's who John, have you ever seen this guy? Cheeseburger?
No.
You got to look this dude up. He is like skinny as a fucking ear swab Q-tip. Oh my God. That's who I thought it was. But then I realized Cheeseburger can't grow facial hair. I remember that. And Ruff has like probably 10 years of buildup on his face.
We get our main event. It's Rhea Ripley against Io Shirai, and guys, this is a match of a year contender. Yeah, contender. And this was a great match. If you haven't watched it, get your asses back on the network and watch it. I loved everything about it. And this is where I referenced Raquel Gonzalez earlier. I think you're going to see Ripley actually getting pushed to the main again here real soon. I'm all on with that as well. Maybe Flair's coming back soon. They can kind of finish that little rivalry they had. So yeah, I think you saw Ripley getting her last shot in NXT. Maybe she's in a War Games match one more time, but I think her title shots are done and you see her on one of the horrible WWE shows here in the near future.
I just saw a picture of Cheeseburger. I think he looks like Ruff a little bit, but holy cow. Any of our arms are bigger than his arms. This guy is a twig. But to your point, Mark, great match. I mean, what else can you say? They're both so good in the ring together. They have incredible chemistry. Fantastic match. Fantastic match.
Yeah, I loved it too. Again, the women were featured and they delivered. That's what this show was. I read an interesting fact that Rhea Ripley had 6 earrings ripped out of her face during this match.
Oh my God!
So she
go
was
back and watch that.
Yeah, she was in some serious pain and a little bit of blood. If you didn't notice it, I didn't know. I had to go back and look at it. But yeah, 6 earrings ripped out, and nothing against the match or anything. I wouldn't be wearing that shit into the ring in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. You've heard stories about people. Look at Jeff Hardy a couple of weeks ago. He had a freaking lock put through his earring.
That shit was great.
Yeah, okay.
That so far to me is a moment of the year. Because how inventive was that to padlock his fucking ear to a ladder?
That was incredible.
It was gross. They could have ruined his life.
I like everybody's predictions, too. That really made this feel like a main event fight with all the other competitors talking about who they thought was going to win.
I did too. It really was. And then at the end, Finn comes out and starts talking, but Pat's posse comes out, and then Finn pretty much says, hey, I'm not by myself, and the era is back. That sets up, that says War Games all over it. I don't know if you guys think so or not.
Yeah, for sure.
They already announced, they did announce that one.
Okay.
I know for sure they did announce that one. This was, I love Adam Cole, the Undisputed Era. This was fucking great. When he kicked McAfee in the fucking head at ringside, I was like, fucking prop him up and kick him again.
I fast forwarded. Once I heard McAfee talk about Breezango and going around time, I'm like, oh, I can't listen to this guy. I can't fucking do it. Look, you guys, it's like Jim. I have friends, okay? I have friends in Brooklyn that you wonder if they're speaking English. It's like Jim Cornette says when he had to listen to Vince Russo. Is this guy even speaking English? I agree. But this guy's Yinzer accent just grates my last goddamn nerve. I fast forwarded until I saw what the hell's his name?
Kyle O'Reilly? Bobby Fish?
Finn Balor. Until I saw Finn Balor had the microphone in his hand, and then I hit play, and he said, I'm not alone either. And that's when I started watching from there. And you're right, Chad. Watching McAfee just get his ass kicked was so much fun. But you know what? He's doing his job. I don't think he belongs in the business. He makes me hate him, and he makes me cheer when he gets beat up.
So NXT, a great show. I will put the tag of great show on NXT.
Absolutely. And I read that AEW won head-to-head again. I think, and I don't want this to happen, but I think if WWE cares at all about ratings, they need to quit putting NXT on immediately on the network immediately after. Because anybody can just watch AEW and then watch NXT on the network. It's what I do. They're not forcing anybody to make a choice. We haven't gotten to AEW yet, but I think NXT was by far the better show.
If you would learn how to use your DVR, you'd be fine and you could get through commercials even faster. Right? AEW time. And guess what, guys? This starts with a match. Literally right into a match. The only show that started right with a match. And it was Top Flight against the Young Bucks. This was fast-paced. Again, you guys know where I am at. Yeah, a little bit too much for me. I don't know these Top Flight cats, but I didn't mind them. I didn't mind this match with the Young Bucks because that was what this match was about. And then afterwards, the Young Bucks get the win, and Jack Evans and Angelico come out and attack Top Flight. And whatever. Maybe there's a story there in the near future, but yeah.
I don't mind. Oh, my God. Get ready. I don't mind the Young Bucks. I thought this match was okay. Just like you, Mark, it's not – I'm getting two fingers now. Just like you, Mark, it's not exactly my style. I feel they've toned it down a bit. The action was fast-paced. I will say they forego the storytelling and psychology for the sake of more spots.
Yep.
It's just it's who they are. It's what they do. Not all the time. Not all the time. That tag team title match, and we talked about this when they won the belts. Chad, you said, and I would agree with you. I think you said FTR raised them to that level. I would agree with that. They've got it in them. But again, they would rather forego the psychology to fit 3 more spots in there. And that's just not my thing. I thought it was okay.
Nothing. He doesn't even want to bring it up.
It was a Young Bucks match. You know, the guy orders a pizza, drinks a 6-pack, waiting for him to do their series of fucking moves. Beforehand, I had read that they said that they can make any team main event level if they gave them 10 minutes. I don't like these guys. I never have. The only thing I got to say about this is, John, I will get revenge for your little write-up from 2 weeks ago of me celebrating Twinkle Toes McFinger fuck in the Young Bucks. But yeah, let's just next match.
Well, the next thing is going to be 2 segments that we're going to throw into one. Get ready. I hated the whole Inner Circle going to Vegas thing. It was nothing but Hangover the movie. They just copied way too much of it. I didn't care. I thought it was going to be maybe something funny, some shenanigans, but they outright copied Hangover the movie. I didn't care that I saw Conan or Hornswoggle. No.
The only thing that I got good out of this that was funny was that meme that I sent you of Chris Jericho and MJF in their baby picture.
Yeah.
John, we'll have to have him send him that one while we're on the air so he can get a good laugh out of that. This was bad. This was fucking bad.
If I saved it. Yeah, I did.
Hornswoggle in a diaper is just really degrading and disturbing, and I don't know. Yeah, there you are. You just sent it to me, Mark.
John liked it. Guys, if you don't know, it's a Becky Lynch. You know what? We'll use it as a thumbtag. Yeah, we'll use it as. I'll change what I have as a thumbnail, and I'll use some of that as well.
Perfect.
Yeah. Whatever. Then
it was funny at times, I guess, but we're willing to tolerate the nonsense if it leads to something. This kind of didn't.
Next up, you have.
Now, if they would have had a cameo of Mike Tyson coming out and, I don't know, punching Guevara in the stomach and knocking him out, that would have been funny. I would have laughed at that, or Jericho humping a tiger or something. That would have been funny.
Maybe Joe Exotic on it, since he's a Tiger King. Yeah. Moxley makes an announcement that he's ready to fight this, that, and the other thing, because later on in the night he's got his contract signing with Omega. But the big thing out of all of this is Moxley and Renee Young expecting. Congratulations.
Hey.
Renee Paquette.
Whatever.
Or however the fuck it's pronounced.
Probably Paquet.
Yeah, she's Canadian.
Yeah.
So, guys, in 23 years, we will have the Shield 2.0, because Rollins' kid, Roman had his kids at WrestleMania. Rollins is having his in February, and 9 months from whenever, with Paquette and amoxicillin, you're going to have the youngest member. So do they form the Shield in a few years?
I bet. Yeah, I mean, if they, assuming they all get into that line of work, yeah, wrestling just historically plays off of what the fathers have done. So, heck yeah.
I could see that happening if they go into it.
We'll be retired, still bringing you Can Crushers, so good. Next matchup was Kip Sabian against Orange Cassidy. Man, these two are uber athletic. I'll use that word the kids use, uber athletic. I got nothing out of this match. It was a stinker for me.
I didn't love it either. I think the shtick with Orange Cassidy, it's an interesting gimmick, and it's gutsy. I like the introduction from wherever, weighing whatever, but the hands in the pocket thing and the kicks, the fans love it. The fans love it. So what the hell do I know? But I just have to think, like, if you want me to believe you're in a fight with somebody and you're just like tapping them with your toes, we've seen some guys fight back, but most guys stand there and take it, and I don't get why.
I just want to see somebody when he goes to do the hands in the pocket and stand there. I want him to just haul off and kick his nuts right up to his nostril.
How did I know you were going to go nuts?
I just want, I don't care if they get disqualified, if Tony Khan finds them 10,000 lira or whatever the fuck, just kick them right square in the jimmy. Lay him out.
Lira? Wow, that was Italian currency before the euro took over. My son loves him, though. My son loves him. So and I know my son's not the be-all, end-all, but kids, I guess, take to this guy. This guy and Darby Allin, kids love them.
We'll talk about Darby here in a minute. The contract signing, Omega's out there, but all of a sudden you see him, John Moxley's laid out in the back. Omega seems like he had no clue this was going to happen. And then, reading some dirt this week, there was actually a sign the way that Moxley was not hanging, I just gave it away, was laying. He was laying as he was just dropped from a hangman's noose. So if you go back and look at him, that it's supposedly the hangman, the way he was laying, whatever. So, nothing.
Yeah, I got nothing on this. I just Omega Twinkle Toes McFinger fuck out there. Oh, I don't like the psychology you're playing, Moxley. Well, we don't like you dancing around like a bunch of fucking Las Vegas horrors or whatever, Omega.
How do you follow that? That's why you should have went first.
Wow. I felt this whole segment was a little disjointed. It's almost like nobody cared that Moxley was face down on the ground back there. Like, oh, shit, he's supposed to be out here. I guess he's not coming out then. All right. And if I were Tony Schiavone, you've been at this 40 years. Like, you have the microphone in your hand. Like, Kenny, you know nothing about this. You're sure you had absolutely nothing to do with this. Let Kenny Omega deny it. I don't know. Omega didn't really have anything to say. He never does. I'm sorry. He just never has anything consequential to say. He signed it and he left, and there was Omega face down.
Moxley face down.
Or I'm sorry. Yeah, Moxley face down. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'd like to see Omega face down in the fucking river with concrete shoes.
Speaking about disjointed, the next match for me, Pac against Blade, Eddie was on the mic during the whole thing. It just wasn't Eddie. Like, he was off. There wasn't big comebacks or quips or anything. And then Phoenix comes out after the match, and it all goes awry just to get the Death Triangle back, and you really don't know where any of this goes. So, as much as I love Eddie Kingston, he was not on his game on Wednesday night.
I'm still not sure why he attempted to split up the Lucha Brothers. What the idea behind that was, to show his power, that he could get two, whatever they are, best friends, brothers, to split up. I don't know. I didn't get why he was trying to split them up. Why would you want one less guy in your faction? Didn't get it. And Sylvan was just explaining what you explained to me. What was this reunion? The Death Triangle or something? Or
Yeah.
Oh, I was right?
Yeah.
I was right. Oh, wow. Okay. So where were they? Where
Well, Pac was stuck in England, or wherever the hell.
I'm saying, like, where? I don't have any recollection of a Death Triangle.
They were together for maybe 2 months prior to COVID, and then Pac got stuck in his homeland.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this was a shitty way to bring Pac back. I think they should have brought him back and had him just kick the shit out of somebody in like 2 minutes.
Touche.
It's just drug out too long.
It was a long match that made no sense at the end. John's favorite wrestler, Jade, beats up Brandy backstage. And again, what the fuck was going on backstage? Nyla Rose was holding 3 referees. What's her name? Eddie's wife, Vicky Guerrero, was just screaming. And then the faces were in before she actually stepped on her arm. So why not break the move so she doesn't?
Yeah.
It was rough.
Grab her around the waist, grab her arms. Like, she didn't have to fight anybody off to try to break Brandy's arm.
Yeah, I got nothing good to say about this.
Next matchup on the night was my favorite, though, of this was Serena Deeb against Thunder Rosa. Great wrestling, Matt. Great mat wrestling. I love the mat.
On a great wrestling mat, too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I loved it all. But as much as I love Thunder Rosa, which I just got her autograph picture in the mail the other day, so I'm pumped about that. when Britt came out and did her move, she should have rolled her in the ring and the match should have been over. Like, I almost thought that Thunder was going to win the NWA title back and then Britt was going to challenge for that. But clearly, we know that's not going to happen. And I have some stuff about Thunder Rosa I want to talk about after you guys critique this.
So, to your point, Mark, back when we were young, yeah, outside interference would have ended the match for a few reasons. All right, so number one, it gives Rosa an excuse for having lost, because the fact that she was able to recover from that and then still lose, she kind of loses a little bit of, I don't want to say she loses face, but she lost a little more cleanly than had it just been the outside interference that did her in. The other thing is, the match goes on for however long it does after that, right? Deeb gets the win, Thunder Rosa comes out, and then starts beating the hell out of Britt. Why is Britt still there? Now, if you tell me like she interferes, she trips her, or the DDT, whatever she did, throws her back in and gets the win, Deeb gets the win, then when Thunder Rosa comes to a minute later, I am able to believe that Britt is still out there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
this was 10 minutes later.
Yeah, a good 7 or 8 minutes later. So I wish, like you said, I wish it would have ended after the interference. Some AEW wrestlers that have come back from injury have come back better. I think Britt's one of those people. I'm looking forward to this storyline between her and Thunder Rosa. I don't know whom you're going to cheer for, Mark.
I don't either.
Yeah. And once Britt recovered from getting attacked, she went Punxsutawney on Rosa's ass, man. She was a fighter. She was willing to scratch and claw and bite and whatever else.
I was wondering if one of you guys were going to bring that up. Holy shit, that looked physical.
Yeah.
They did not look like they were pulling punches, so to speak. And, I can't remember who said this a while ago, made a comment about what's a problem with some of the women wrestling is they don't hit like the guys. It doesn't look right. It's like they're bringing it, they're bringing a right hand all the way from their left shoulder and missing the person's head or chest by about 3 feet. But the women's matches across the board are getting more physical. And to me, that lends more believability to them.
Touche.
They were always more athletic, but you're right. They're getting more physical now, too, which is great to see.
Tuesday night, I was part of a virtual meet and greet with Thunder Rosa for about the last 15 minutes of it. Just kind of hanging out, talking to some of the people and everything. And one of the questions asked to Thunder Rosa if she really would go with the WWE. And she's like, well, I have a mission right now that I'm working on, in reference to Mission Pro Wrestling. And then there were some other guys there kind of saying, well, you would probably have to be a different name. Thunder's like, well, before I would ever sign with WWE, I would make sure all my ducks are in a row, and I'm Thunder Rosa for my whole career. The guy then said, well, you could have Thunder Rosa copyrighted, but Vince could still change your name to Stormy Petunia, and you'd have to come out with like daisies on your face and everything. So she just started joking about that. And then Wednesday, her coming out, and I think this actually solidifies with her losing that NWA shot and Britt attacking her. The writing's on the wall that from what I heard Tuesday night and what I saw Wednesday, I don't see why Thunder's not going to sign with AEW long-term once and if that contract of NWA is breached or over, whatever. So, yeah. I'm going to say right now on the record, you won't see Thunder Rosa in the WWE because she has too many options going on that she can still run her Mission Pro Wrestling, and she doesn't want to be Stormy Petunia, is what it really is.
On to that, and I'm sure we'll talk about WWE and the Selena Vega whole thing. I think that what happened with Selena Vega is probably in a lot of the wrestlers' mind, especially the females, of, you know, you have your fan interaction. She has the mission thing. You sign with WWE, you're lucky if you get your firstborn child.
Yeah.
With your contract. And I think wrestlers are starting to, you know, they're starting to see this, that the fucking money just isn't worth it as much.
Yep, I agree. We'll get to that. Main event time, it's Cage and Starks against Cody and Darby. Whatever. Arn gets thrown out, and I missed why Arn got thrown out, but Taz gets to stay there, and at the end, FTW, Team Taz, whatever you want to call them, grows stronger with Big Will Hobbs. You think he's going to make the save, and then he just whaps those other guys, and yeah. It was an alright match. I wasn't thrilled with it. It was an alright match.
Yeah, exactly. Alright match. The turn was the big story here. It got me by surprise. I know they've been working on them, but those are the best turns, you know, and when they kind of dangle it in your face and tell you it's coming and you still don't see it. How many times do we talk about Paul Orndorff and Hulk Hogan and then Barry Windham and Lex Luger? Ric Flair came out and said, hey, we want you as a horseman. And you're like, no, Barry's not going to join them. And then, you know, he did it anyway. Like, they were courting this guy. They told him they wanted him. I still didn't see it coming. I thought it was an effective turn.
This caught me by surprise, but then again, I think this is a good thing for him to be in with guys like Stark and Cage and Taz as far as the learning tree. You know, I hate to put it that way, but holy shit. You know, you got Taz, the human suplex machine. Brian Cage is an absolute fucking animal. Ricky Starks, pound for pound, could put in an argument to be one of the best wrestlers in the business today.
Yeah.
It's a nice mishmash, too. None of those guys really go together, but it seems like they all have a common goal. I think it's a neat little faction. I really do. And you're right, Chad. Brian Cage he's pretty awesome and has nothing but potential. I think he's going to have a long career. I think he's going to be pretty special before all is said and done for him.
So NXT gets the win via us, but on
what else matters?
Yeah, on views, AEW cleans up, and like I said, it was a good show. NXT was a little bit better, and now we're gonna transition. We're gonna transition into. You guys can talk about whatever you want to. We have a new WWE champion as Drew McIntyre wins it right back. Guys, let me ask you this as we talk about WWE. We'll go wherever we want to. Why put it on Orton for 3 weeks? What did that do?
I think what that did was it harkened back to the Monday Night Wars, the ratings wars, title changes, draw ratings. Obviously, they're not really competing against anybody on Monday nights. I don't know what their numbers have looked like. Title changes are exciting. We saw Kane win it and lose it the next night. There was a period of time there in the 90s, belts were flying all over the place every other week because it's exciting. People want to hear and new. So that's the only thing I can think of is you got 2 title changes out of it.
I think this was a filler. It's like John said, ratings played into it. What were they going to do with Drew for a month? You know, they're not going to develop a long storyline or something with him. So what better to just have Drew for 3 weeks beating the fuck out of anybody from, you know, the Miz on up that's going after Orton and saying, I'm going to be the one to take the title. And then, my God, who the hell with Survivor Series wants to see Orton and Reigns, you know, for the 590th fucking time? Who wants to see that?
Right. I agree. I completely agree. It was Not a trick question, but a softball.
And this is what we discussed last week too. Like exactly what Chad said. Is that the match you want to see at Survivor Series where they do both guys at this point in their careers do a move and take a little snooze in between moves? I don't think anybody wants to see that. However, the money's in the chase, as we have been taught, and I was just starting to really get excited about Drew McIntyre chasing the belt. I think he could have run this all the way to WrestleMania and given us a title change there. So in that regard, I don't get the 3-week thing, but it had to be ratings just to get the fans excited to see title changes.
I thought we were going to get another title change with the tag team champions. At least for a moment, I thought. This was the best tag team match on Raw in a long time. New Day against the Hurt Business. This was a really good tag team match. Granted, New Day came out, talked for 10 minutes. Oh, here comes the Hurt Business. They come to the ring. We have to go to commercial break. They get to talk for 5 minutes. Oh, we got to go to another commercial break. Oh, now we're going to get a match. It was 3 segments before the match started. Just put the fucking matches together.
I know. Who said it? Was it Xavier Woods? One of the New Day guys kind of gave us a little peek behind the curtain where he said, no, it was Kofi. He said something like, hey, it was my line, don't step on my line or something, which kind of shows you like so much of this is written for them, or at least I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say bullet points, but what we've all heard is like it's almost word for word what they have to say. But one of the Hurt Business guys jumped on his line. He's like, hey, don't jump on my line. I still had more to say. I just thought that was kind of an interesting peek behind the curtain and how things operate there, where these guys are really micromanaged. These segments are they're way too damn long just to get to a match, you know? And speaking of which, the start of the show, Mark, you and I discussed this. 25 minutes, guys, before a goddamn bell rang on that show. 25 minutes before we heard a bell ring. At the 26th minute, they went to commercial. Do they care about wrestling?
No.
The ring is just a stage. That's all it is. It's just a stage.
Yep. That's why Jim Cornette's talked about the last couple of weeks saying they ought to go to the Screen Actors Guild for insurance because they're nothing but actors at this point.
Yep. He's right about that.
Anything else on Raw we want to talk about before we transition and give SmackDown 3 minutes?
Nah.
Nah? All right.
Yeah.
SmackDown, you kind of get the same thing. The Street Profits are talking to Big E, and then they head out to the ring, and then Corbin comes out, Ziggler and Rude, and then the New Day says, you guys have to face it off, and then maybe you can fight, and then more people come out, and then we have an 8-man match that they were all just lost in the shuffle. It was just all lost in the shuffle for no fucking reason.
I popped in a Von Erich DVD today just for fun, and they talked about, because we always figured wrestling was an hour show. Once in a while, you had an hour and a half Saturday night's main event or something. There were some 2-hour shows, and I didn't realize that. We feel like 2 hours is a lot to fill for SmackDown. WCCW had a 2-hour show. They filled it with wrestling. It was a hot program. I don't know why WWE doesn't have the formula for SmackDown. Like all the things you're saying, Mark, like this guy came out and they said this and that, and then somebody else came out. Fans in Dallas would have torn the goddamn place down if you'd have tried that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
If you look at any of the DVDs from the Von Erichs you talking about World Class and that from the Sportatorium, you would have thought that place was fucking huge, that it was, as big as the Omni. The fans were rabid and everything. You couldn't hear the guys being announced. The Von Erichs, probably had more sex going down to the ring than the Rock and Roll Express had in 20 years. those fans were rabid. Oh my God. Yeah, you try pulling this shit with them rednecks down there. Oh yeah, there'd be people getting sliced, shot, hung out in the parking lot.
Wow. I'm so glad the SmackDown discussion turned into a discussion about world class instead.
Yeah, because that's all that happened on SmackDown. That Otis is part of the team, John. You excited for that?
Can't wait. Yep.
And then your Days of Our Lives, just to round off the 60-minute mark. Seth and Murphy. Oh, my God. Watch, if you have not watched Aaliyah fall, it's going to be a meme or whatever because it is so bad. Watch her fall. That's what I'm going to take from SmackDown because I don't know. I can fall better with my eyes closed. Are we done?
I didn't know what the hell she did.
She didn't either. She didn't either. But you know who knows what's going on? Al Snow. Al Snow knows what's going on in the closing business, doesn't he?
Absolutely
Yep.
he does.
Guys,
Surprising for his age that he can do that.
how old is he this week, Chad?
Like 144 or something?
Close, I think, yeah. CollaranElbow.com, guys. Hats, hoodies, tees, all great apparel. They have the Shad Gaspar shirt that gives back. You have the animal shirt that gives back to the families, along with some great new stuff coming out. Like I said, hats, hoodies, tees, all there. We have a promo code, Chad. What is it?
Can Crushers. Capital C and Can, capital C and Crushers.
Sean, how much do you get off?
You get 10% off when you use that promo code.
And here comes Al Snow.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
This is the professional Braden Elliott, and you are listening to Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. That's a shoot. Get the body bag.
Welcome back to Can Crushers. It is I, the English professor, jacked up on Guatemalan coffee, joined by Chad, the glorious guru, and your host is Mark the Mark Martinez, sucking down, what is that, Bud Light, Miller Light?
Bud Light, my ass. Miller Light.
Miller Light.
Yeah, what Bud Light? Come on.
Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah. I still can't taste it, so.
Yeah. So even though it's less filling, great taste, you get the less filling part, but not the great taste.
Right.
Sorry, man.
But I'm getting
Hopefully
the buzz.
that comes back soon.
I'm getting the buzz out of it tonight. That's for
Well,
sure.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. We, with this segment, are going to discuss Survivor Series 1988 as our throwback pay-per-view. 4 matches, all traditional Survivor Series format. What an awesome card this was, guys. Top to bottom. Top to bottom.
November
Incredible match.
November
Go ahead.
24th, 1988, from Richfield Township, Ohio. Where is that?
I guess near Cleveland, right?
I don't know.
I believe so.
This is the little towns that they went to back in the day. Chad's going to get on it right now or something. I don't know what he's doing. He's throwing bottles at his damn kid. That's awesome.
Because Jesse Ventura mentioned Cleveland a couple of times, so I imagine the biggest city, the closest big city, was Cleveland.
13,500 fans, and they were ruckus the whole time.
The entire time. Like, when Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura were talking before the matches started, the crowd was already at a fever pitch. Ultimate Warrior's music hits right away to get it started, and the crowd just pops immediately for the Ultimate Warriors team, which is interesting. They announced the good guys first. But to show you how into it this crowd was, they're cheering the Ultimate Warriors team, which consisted of obviously the Ultimate Warrior, the Blue Blazer, Brutus Beefcake, the barber, Jim Brunzell, and the husband of Can Crushers alum Baby Doll, Sam Houston. But then no sooner do those guys hit the ring and the fans are screaming, cheering, then they start just booing and spewing venom as soon as you hear that and the honky tonk man comes out. That sounded exactly like that sounded exactly like it. I don't care what you guys say.
Yeah.
Interesting about this match, Honky Tonk Man and Ron Bass teamed up the year before at the Survivor Series. They were co-captains again this year. They were joined by Bad News Brown, Greg the Hammer Valentine, and Dangerous Danny Davis.
I love this. I really did. You're going to go deep into these, and I'm going to just touch on everything. I loved how all these matches were over 20 minutes. Okay, some are much. The next one is definitely the longest match of the show.
Sure.
But there's some quick eliminations. Everything was kind of cattywampus. And I mean that good, that there's a DQ, there's somebody that leaves, there's this, there's that. Everybody in these matches had beef with somebody on the other side. It wasn't just like we're going to see tonight with Riddle going to be in the ring with Kevin Owens. All right, cool. What did those two have together? Nothing. Everybody... Even if it was, Sam Houston was a cowboy. Well, he hated Ron Bass because he was a cowboy. Warrior just took the title from Honky Tonk Man. Valentine and Beefcake kind of just broke up, this, that, and the other. Danny Davis screwed every face over at one point. I just love this. And then Bad News Brown was just a dick. He hated everybody.
Yep.
This is what made the Survivor Series fun and interesting to watch. Before was, like you said, somebody had a beef with somebody on the other side all the time. Now we're supposed to believe, brand, loyalty and shit like that. It's like, it's not interesting now. Back then it was.
Yep.
You could have mid-card guys with upper-card guys, and it was still a good mix of people in matches.
Yeah, we'll talk about one of those mid-card guys that surprised the shit out of me he was on this pay-per-view, but we'll get to there.
So some things to your point, Mark, the feuds. You had Brutus Beefcake and the Honky Tonk Man as well, which had been going for a while. I know they wrestled at WrestleMania. Beefcake got a DQ loss because Jimmy Hart interfered. He was supposed to wrestle Honky Tonk Man at SummerSlam 88. I think this is – I don't want to get this wrong. I don't know if this was the parasailing or if this was Ron Bass with the spurs cutting his face up on TV. If it was Ron Bass and you had Beefcake and Bass as well in this match, obviously you had the Ultimate Warrior and the Honky Tonk Man feud. And when Bad News Brown, I guess – he was holding somebody. He might have been, I don't know who he was holding. And Valentine went to hit him. The guy ducked and he hit Brown. That was the perfect duo to kind of get in each other's faces to make Bad News Brown walk out of that match. If you put Bad News Brown up against a Honky Tonk Man, it's not the same thing. If you put him up against Danny Davis, that's ridiculous. Valentine's not going to back up from anybody. So that worked out beautifully, that those two guys are the two that got into it that made Bad News Brown leave. Just want to point out how good is Owen Hart, man. Unbelievable. The guy was just so smooth in this match. Loved it. Babyfaces get the win.
Well, there's only one sole survivor.
Right. The Ultimate Warrior won it for his team. As we move on, you'll see Howard Finkel, I think, was the announcer. He announced the sole survivor, no matter if the whole team could have survived. He said, and the sole survivors are, and he went down the whole. I don't know if he knew what sole survivor meant. Nevertheless, yeah, Ultimate Warrior gets the win for his team. Moving on to the next match. This is what I love. The tag team version of the Survivor Series tag team matches. This is 20 guys This shows the depth of the tag team roster in the WWF at the time. So team captains, the Powers of Pain, Barbarian and Warlord, are joined by the Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid, the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart, and then the Young Stallions, Jim Powers and Paul Roma. They took on Demolition, the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, the Bolsheviks, Jacques and Raymond the Rougeaus, and the Conquistadors.
Okay.
The ding-dongs without the ding-dongs.
And at first, Chad, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I'm writing it and they're all walking out before Fink announces who it is and I don't look at any cards, or I'm like, wait, I thought the ding-dongs were in WCW. So in my notes, I write the ding-dongs, and I'm like, oh shit, that's the Conquistadors. This match, about 43 minutes long, and there wasn't a nap time at all in this match. Feud just going awry, but the story was there the whole time, and we get a hell of a shock at the end of this match. And I'm going to ask you both this. Give it away that, Fuji turns on Demolition and goes with the Powers of Pain. Why are the Conquistadors the last team then? Like, the Bolsheviks were pretty hot then. Why not have them be the last? The Conquistadors, I feel, should have been the first team out. I don't understand the booking saying, hey, the Conquistadors are going to be the last team left. They make no sense of being here, almost as much as like, hey, let's have them turn on the Young Stallions. Those two teams could have been, it could have been John, you and the Junkyard Dick against me and Chad, or whatever. Throw us in there. Both of us could have been eliminated. I just don't understand why Conquistadors are the last team left.
They pulled the fucking short straw. Hey, we win. We get the straw. We get to be the last team. That's all that shit was. And plus, if Vince had anything to do with it, which he did, he would put over what would make him fucking laugh.
My thoughts are, why not have Demolition screwed early then? Because they were screwed, and then literally they walked in the back. 2 seconds later, they had to run back out. Like, fuck, why do we have, because it was a long aisleway. I mean, it took both teams 10 minutes to get out there. I felt bad for Demolition in the long run, is what I thought. You don't want them screwed at the very end, but I think maybe like them getting eliminated second or third compared to last before last, But I love the match. I really did. Again, with the whole rivalries between both of them, everybody was fighting everybody back then. In 42 minutes. Like, my wife was invested in this match. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Chad. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say this was a great match. The one thing that I took out of it, kind of had to sit back and just, think about them being gone, was the British Bulldogs. How fucking good were they? Right. No matter what they did, they were so good. Both of them.
A lot of feuds going on in this. To answer your question, Mark, I think the Conquistadors being left at the end was kind of a shock, because after the turn, the Powers of Pain are on the outside of the ring helping up Mr. Fuji, and the Conquistadors are jumping up and down thinking they're going to win. And the Powers of Pain, and I think probably the fans probably felt that too, and then the Powers of Pain have to run in before the bell ring, before they get counted out, and they just kick the shit out of the Conquistadors. Some interesting things about this match. Shortly before this, and if you guys have not seen this interview, you need to see this interview with Jacques Rougeau. He was getting bullied by the Dynamite Kid. This was the British Bulldogs' last match in the WWF ever, as a team. Dynamite Kid never came back. Bulldog had a few returns. Raymond was going to fight Dynamite Kid and had an injury, and they had a gentleman's agreement that when his injury was healed, they were going to schedule a fight. Dynamite Kid kind of ran with the Clique at the time, Bad News Brown, Magnificent Morocco, a few others. finally, Jacques decided he was going to essentially sucker punch him. They didn't agree to a fight, but he had a roll of quarters or dimes or something. And as he was passing the Dynamite Kid, punched him and knocked his teeth out. They say he still didn't go down. He was kind of woozy, but he didn't go down. Why were the Conquistadors not eliminated early? And here's why. Jacques went to Vince McMahon's office and said, I need to talk to you right now. Hulk Hogan was in there. Hulk Hogan's like, all right, I'll leave. I'll get out of here. He's like, I'm sick of this shit. Blah, blah, blah. And then Dynamite Kid comes in with his teeth all fucked up. You're paying for my teeth. You're paying for my teeth. Vince says, I'll pay for your teeth. Relax. This has to end now. They agreed. Vince said to the Rougeaus, you guys need to go out first. This will be a long match. You go out first. Get back there, get showered, leave. The Bulldogs will hang around for a while. By the time the Bulldogs are eliminated, you guys are out the door, and there's no fight between you. One other thing about that, Bret Hart, who knew Dynamite Kid pretty well, said that ruined him. It really damaged him long term because he wasn't used to losing fights. He never got a chance for retribution. He got his teeth knocked out, and he said mentally it damaged him after that. So that was a story there. If you notice, they had very, very little time in the ring together. Dynamite Kid and Jacques Rougeau, maybe 10 seconds before Jacques Rougeau, runs over to his corner to make a tag.
It was a weird tag. Literally, they locked up and he tussled backwards. Yeah.
Yeah. He did a quick, maybe a snap suplex or something, but he made a tag. But 42 minutes of non-stop action. I want to mention Tully Blanchard, who was incredible in this match. The bumps he took, the psychology, when and why and how he tagged. He stole the show for me in this match. Tully Blanchard did.
Yeah, I agree with everything. This was a great match all around. John talking about the history with the Rougeaus and the Bulldogs. Dynamite Kid was known to be a real prick as far as pranks and doing shit like that, and Rougeau just got tired of it and cranked him, fractured his jaw in 2 places, knocked a shitload of teeth out, and like you said, Vince saw more mileage in the Rougeaus, and that's why the Bulldogs kind of went to shit. Davey Boy, God rest his soul, he was kind of like hands off with it because he knew Dynamite was a prick.
Yeah. Kind of a follower in this situation, to be perfectly honest with you. Wasn't going to pull a prank necessarily to hurt somebody, but wasn't going to stay out of the way. It wasn't going to do anything to intervene and prevent it either. Next match, co-captains Andre the Giant and Dino Bravo are joined by Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, and Harley Race. They take on co-captains Jake the Snake Roberts, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Ken Patera, Scott Casey, and Tito Santana. This 20-man match was kind of hard to follow, and this was a tough match to put after it because you didn't really have the athletes in this match that you just had in the previous match. Of course, some exceptions. Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, but beyond that, Harley Race's best days were behind him. But another good Survivor Series match with several feuds going on at once.
Scott Casey being involved in this match, mid-Carter the entire time, that shocked me. At least Tito had a title, Patera did his thing. The heels were all champs at one point that, held their own. Scott Casey kind of shocked me. I'm like, holy shit, Scott Casey's in this. I don't know. You could have maybe swung some people around from a different team and put them on this. This was the match that if you could have and would have known right from the get-go, all right, the heels are winning this hands down. Without a doubt, the heels are winning this. And you're right, John. It was a rough match to follow, something that stole the show.
Yeah, very quickly, Don Morocco had just left the WWF. I wonder if maybe he was originally slated for this team in place of Scott Casey. I don't know.
Why not?
You guys realize what some of these guys that were in these matches, where they came from and why they were in the WWF, the Sam Houston, Ron Bass, Scott Casey, and that. These were guys that were booted or signed from their peak, so to speak, out of WCW/NWA, and Vince brought all at the same time. Blanchard and Anderson. Okay, Blanchard and Anderson a step above everybody else. But all these other guys had 1 year, 2 year contracts, and they were popular as shit down in the South. But you bring them up north, and it's like Sam Houston, Ron Bass, Scott Casey. Geez, Scott Casey in world class. And then with Bill Watts Mid-South, that's where these guys came from. They were 1 2 year contracts, and this was before Vince he'd feature somebody or whatever, bring them in, let them get something going, and then cut them off. Here, he just brought them in. I don't remember these guys having much more going on than these matches.
No. And John, you brought up athletes. This was when Andre was in rough shape. Barely moved. Just did a couple things here and there. Perfect, Rude. I know Rude was the first one out, but Perfect and Rude looked great. Even Tito doing some things, but
the flying burrito.
Yeah.
When Jake Roberts was by himself, because Duggan came in with the 2x4 and got DQ'd, and it might have been 4-on-1. I think Race was the first guy out for the heels, because I know Jake got the DDT on Rude for the elimination, which again, he was feuding with Andre, but he also had that thing with Rude with his wife Cheryl. When he eliminated Rude with the DDT, and then Andre the Giant came in and choked him to the point of disqualification, I felt it, and I think the fans there felt it, like, Andre's out. I think Jake's going to come back and win. Like, it got you sucked in. Like, okay, he DDT'd Rude. Andre's out. And then Mr. Perfect just comes, he's like, well, this guy's dead. I'm just going to lay on him and pin him. Like, God damn it. It was so good. It sucked me in. Even then, even now, I thought Jake Roberts was going to come back, and he just had nothing left.
And this was Perfect before he actually became, like, the Mr. Perfect. This was one of his, like, kind of first matches in the W, because he just had the black trunks, like, just coming over as Kurt Hennig, more or less.
No towel, no chewing gum, not managed by Bobby Heenan, even though Bobby Heenan was out there. It was cool to see Andre and Rude team up again from the year before. But certainly, and he was Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig here at this point. They hadn't dropped the Kurt Hennig yet.
Right.
The main event, for me, the weakest match of the night. It was the Mega Powers against the Twin Towers. So the Mega Powers consisted of Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. They were joined by the Mighty Hercules, Hillbilly Jim, Coco Beware, Mark's favorite, Hillbilly Jim. They took on Akeem, the Big Boss Man, Haku, the Red Rooster, and Ted DiBiase. I thought it was cool that Heenan and Slick were co-managers of the main event again, just as they were the year before. Some things going on in this match. The $1 Million Man had just attempted to purchase Hercules. Hercules said, no, I am no man's slave. So there was a feud there. There was a feud between Hulk Hogan and Macho Man against the Big Boss Man and Akeem. That's about it. The other two guys on each team were just kind of thrown in there. The Red Rooster wanted to prove himself to Bobby Heenan that he could win. He's the first guy out. To this day, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, and there are some people who don't agree with me, and I can't understand this. The Big Boss Man and the One-Man Gang would have made worlds more sense than the Big Boss Man and Akeem.
But were they better? Were they better, Akeem and Big Boss Man, in the Legion of Doom?
No. I'm going to say no. This was one team not better than the Legion of Doom. A crooked corrections officer and a gangbanger from the streets of Chicago, or a crooked corrections officer and a guy who for some reason suddenly thinks he's from Africa. Anyway.
Right. Yeah, we knew who was going to win this match. That's it.
Of course. Yeah. It's good to see the Macho Man started off with the $1 Million Man. It was kind of a throwback to their WrestleMania 4 feud. But I think the big story here was Randy Savage just starting to get jealous.
That's what I was just going to point out. The end of the match, and Elizabeth and Hogan get a big hug, and Macho Man's looking like, you dirty bastard. And, yeah, this was the seed being planted for the Mega Powers explosion.
You dirty bastard.
One other thing to point out, the managers back in the day were so good. They just all did what they did well. Slick is just a son of a bitch. He's taunting Hulk Hogan because he's handcuffed and can't move. He gets knocked down. Heenan's knocked down. Elizabeth gets the key out of his pocket. Just fun stuff.
Did you guys catch the commentary, Jesse Ventura, about Elizabeth? She's going for his wallet. She's trying to
Yes.
Look at her pickpocketing him.
Yep.
It was just so good. John picked this one last week because we wanted to do a good Survivor Series for you guys, because what's going to happen tonight, next week, you're going to hear that it's probably not going to get the ratings as this did. And it's just not a Survivor Series anymore. It really isn't. What's going to happen tonight, guys, is something that should happen in Clash of the Champions and bring Survivor Series back. And if you're going to have a Clash of the Champions, let them do that on Clash of the Champions. I'm all right with that. I don't care. I won't watch it, but of course I'm going to watch Survivor Series because we'll get there. We'll get there.
That's a great point. Maybe they tried something new with the Survivor Series. Hey, what about champions versus champions, and the better champion survives? It didn't work. Go back to what works. Give us the elimination tag team matches.
The thing is, those were specialty matches. You didn't get as many of them. Now we get an 8-man fucking match every week because nobody knew that they were going to wrestle on Raw or SmackDown.
The only way this thing tonight would work is if titles were on the line. If we were combining titles and, there was that shit out there. And I'll get into this. I got some predictions on it, of course, but there's just nothing fucking on the line. This could be a good special on fucking TV. That's the only way they're going to get any ratings for this. Put this shit on free TV.
Well, there's one reason why they're going to get ratings, and we'll get to it.
Sasha Banks shaking her ass?
No, we'll get to it. We'll lead with predictions in the next segment. So let's give because we're good here. Let's give our ratings on this out of 6 beers. To me, 5.5. Because 2 matches. The Andre match I could, and then the main event was, the other 2 matches. I thoroughly enjoyed the lead match with the Ultimate Warriors team, and then I think the tag team match is definitely why John picked this, because he's like, yeah, this was to showcase there's not 20 fucking tag teams in professional wrestling today as it were in that match for 42 minutes 30 years ago. So 5.5, because I have to take a quarter point off of because of Andre's match in the main event.
I would give this, I'm going to agree with Mark, a 5.5. I would give it a 5, but what made this match for me was the nostalgia factor of those who have passed away. Seeing them again, seeing them at, I don't want to say necessarily their peak or their best, but seeing them featured, the Bulldogs, Owen, even the Ultimate Warrior shaking his dick on the ropes, everything like that.
You're trying to be nice.
It was good to see those guys again and remember back when we enjoyed wrestling just to enjoy it, We just liked it. We didn't question it as much.
Yeah, to your point, Chad, look at the guys that are gone. There's an entire team, managers included, all of them. They're no longer with us. So there's definitely a nostalgia factor there. I'm going to agree with you guys for the same reasons. 5.5. when the second match was over, I thought this is going to be 6. And then the Andre match was certainly slower. And then the main event was a little predictable. So for those same reasons, I'll say 5.5. But to me, I don't know if there was a better WWF pay-per-view in the 80s. I really don't. You're looking at not a whole lot of stuff. 4 WrestleManias, a couple of Survivor Series, and a SummerSlam. That's it. That's all there was up to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll come back with Survivor Series tonight predictions. And we all have a little bit of news. We all have a little bit of something to bring to the table, and John's got his wish them well, they still got him, or whatever the hell he called it.
Hi, this is Bulk Nasty, and you're listening to Can Crushers Podcast. I'm not sure, just 2 guys cornered me, so here you go.
Welcome back, Can Crusher Nation. It's a return of the Glorious Guru with John the Professor and Mark the Panther Piss drinking Mark.
I am. I've had 4 so far, and normally 4 is in our first segment, but I've had 4 during this podcast. I have a slight buzz on for not drinking in a month, and it feels all right. Feels all right. I still don't. I've switched. I have a couple Busch Light apples left from long ago, and I can't taste it. It's goddamn alcoholic water still. So whatever I'm drinking, it's working, but I can't taste it.
That stuff was enough to gag a maggot off a meat wagon.
Well, then when we can start drinking a real show, you're probably not going to like anything that I have prior to Corona. I got the Straubs, like fall summer classics or whatever, with like grapes and apples and stuff like. I can't wait to taste them, but I can't tap into them because I want to fucking taste them. So I'm drinking all my leftovers from summer, more or less. It's unbelievable. Yeah, you know what else is unbelievable? This shit show that's going to happen tonight. Do whatever predictions you want. I'm just going to run down and tell you the matches and then what I think. No particular order, just the way I remembered them. New Day is taking on the Street Profits. It would have been cool if they put both titles on the line and joined them together, that we'd only have 1 tag team champions. But I'm going New Day.
I am going with the Street Profits. New Day have had their run. I think the Street Profits win.
Yeah, I'm going with the Street Profits, too.
Do we think, always a couple questions, do we think Big E does something since he's kind of hanging out with the Street Profits the last couple days? Weeks, whatever?
If they want to entertain us at all, they will at least tease something with Big E, because he's the common denominator here.
I think he fucks up an interference for the New Day and costs them the match, and it starts the, man, I just fucked up. Okay, give me a break, and starts a storyline going that way.
Do we get a heel turn ever from Big E?
Yes.
I could see it happening. I don't say yes that easily, only because nothing makes any sense with what they do.
Okay. Sami Zayn against Bobby Lashley. This better be the first match, and it better last like 30 seconds, because I don't care. I'm picking Sami Zayn because I like him a little bit better than Bobby Lashley.
It better be on the pre-show, and I'm going with Bobby Lashley. I do like him. I really do.
I think Sami Zayn gets a cheap win. Probably Retribution does something or another.
That was my question. How does Retribution get called in on this pay-per-view? Is this the pay-per-view that this shit goes awry on every match?
You know what would have been interesting is a Survivor Series style match featuring Retribution against the Hurt Business.
What?
Right?
What the fuck sense would that make?
They had that 2 weeks ago on Raw. Why would you do that?
Instead of doing it then, they could have saved it for the Survivor Series.
Men. Team Raw against men. Team SmackDown. Do we have to tell everybody who's on the team, or do we care?
No, just
okay. Good.
SmackDown.
I'm gonna say Raw, and it's gonna tie into there's consequences for their loss, and I'll get into that later.
I think I'm going to go with Raw, too, because of AJ. Something's going on with AJ, that the whole captain thing. That's the only reason why, whatever. Women, Team SmackDown or Team Raw. We did forget to mention that Mandy Rose and Dana are out, and John's girl, Lacey Evans, and Peyton Royce have now taken over the spot with Baszler, Lana, and Nia Jax. And Natty did make the team, as we predicted, and Bayley was just put on the team for SmackDown. So, there you go.
So, why is Mandy out?
She's hurt. Her and Dana are hurt.
Broken wrist is what I'm seeing reported.
Legit injuries?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
For her, not for
Dana.
For her.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, boy. The tag team champions team. I think they're just too damn good. Baszler and Jax's team.
Yeah, I'm going to say Baszler and Jax, but I'm going to throw this into the mix. Lana's going to win the match for them. They're going to put her up like they're celebrating, and then they're going to put her through a fucking table again.
Well, the three of us will agree on that match. All right, next up is Sasha Banks against Asuka. Guys, I said this earlier, would have been great if we didn't see this for the last 6 months as Asuka was on SmackDown. I'm not picking a winner. I think a loss to either one of these guys hurts right now. With Banks just getting the title, even if it's Asuka, I think it hurts. Asuka's not really been on a streak of anything since she's got the title. I think there's kind of like a double disqualification, and this one ends where we're actually happy. So I'm going to take the verses in this.
I think this will steal the show. It'll be the best match of the night. I think Sasha gets a win.
I'm going to go with Mark. It's going to be a double DQ. I think you're going to have interference from Bayley and the
Carmella.
New York City hooker. I mean, Carmella.
Okay. There you go. Roman Reigns against Drew. We actually wanted this more than Roman Reigns against Randy. I don't see this match ending either. The downfall is you can't have Sasha and Asuka right before Roman and Drew, because I think Bray's left off of this. He's involved. Randy's left off a card. He's involved. The Miz is left off the card. He's got the Money in the Bank. Another match that I don't think you see a winner. And yeah, Jey Uso is around as part of the SmackDown team, but come on, he's main event status now. I know it's a generic way out for me, but the two big matches are Sasha and Asuka and Roman and Drew, and I don't think we get clear winners.
No, there's nothing wrong with that, Mark.
No, I agree.
Yeah, you're not taking the easy way out is what I'm trying to say. There are a lot of names connected to this. And if they're smart, because this won't be a great match, I'm sorry, newsflash, it won't be great. They'll incorporate everything, or at least a little bit of what you've said, with The Miz, with Jey Uso. If I have to pick somebody, I'm going to say Roman Reigns.
You don't have to pick anybody. You can go in the middle with me.
No, I'll pick Roman Reigns, but I also think that maybe it's a bad night for the Scottish psychopath. I think maybe while he's down after he's lost his match, maybe with interference from Jey Uso, I don't know, The Miz runs out and cashes in and then takes his WWE title.
Oh, you dirty bastard. But
did I steal your thunder?
No, I just was like, oh my God, please no. Not The Miz and
I'm with
the
you.
title.
I would love that. I would love that. I love The Miz. Sorry.
We are all different on this one. I'm going with Drew McIntyre getting a clean win after
Roman
Uso.
and clean are not in the same sentence.
Well, when I say clean, he's not going to hit him with a fucking chair. Uso's going to do something because they're already teasing Uso, being the bag boy for Roman so much already, like they did this last week against Drew. I think Uso fucks something up, and Drew gets the pin. I think the Miz comes down, but I think he tries to cash it in on Roman, but it doesn't get announced. Like they do another, I don't know what the hell you call it. Like, yeah, I'm cashing it in. And then Roman gets up or somebody comes in and starts beating the shit out of the Miz.
Okay. And of course we know that this is the Undertaker's final farewell.
Yeah, right.
Names announced already to be there are Kurt Angle is supposedly going to be there. Savio Vega is going to be there. I wouldn't be surprised if Kane makes a presence. What do we see from the Undertaker? Does he pass the torch? Does he beat somebody up? Because WrestleMania is 6 months away, guys. It's time to start setting up matches for him.
I have no idea what we see from him. I don't know. I know, obviously, he started in the WWF at Survivor Series 1990. It's 30 years later. So maybe this is a way for him to go out, but we've seen him set his hat and jacket in the middle of the ring after his match with Roman. Was it Roman Reigns? Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he's ever going to retire.
Yeah, I think they're going to play the retirement thing.
Mark Henry comes out and beats his ass.
No, I think he's going to. The Undertaker's always been good and had no problem putting people over his entire career in WWE. I think they're going to push the Fiend coming out and doing something to him and laying him out and kind of leaving it there. I think WrestleMania will be his last match, and I think they're going to have a fucking casket match between him and the Fiend at WrestleMania. The only other thing I see happening with this, another thing, the Undertaker, unless he was doing, a Stone Cold podcast or something like that, he never liked to break kayfabe. I think here he does. I think he gets emotional and thanks the fans. That's what I see going on with this.
I have the utmost respect for him. I've been a fan. I haven't been a fan, depending on the version of The Undertaker, depending on who he's fighting. Against The Fiend, it would be great if you had The Fiend from today and The Undertaker from 25 years ago. That would be amazing. It'd be terrific psychology between the two of them. I don't know, though. Do we need another Undertaker match?
Like a hole in the head. All right. Chad's got some news, but I have one bit of information. Finally, I want to pass along. I got an email. Some of you guys might have already gotten it. Retromania. Remember we talked Retromania, I don't know, it was March prior to it might have been prior to March even. Retromania Wrestling finally has a release date, and it's only going to be digital. It'll be February 26th. It's coming out digital. Your hard copies will come out at a much later date. There's been delays from developmental snags, changes to key development, the global health pandemic, but they're committed. February 26th, the game will be in your systems. I've never pre-ordered a game a year ahead of time. And, well, guess what? I did. Because after talking to Mike and his crew on the podcast that you can hear, if you want to go back and listen, it's kind of that one, if there's one that's ever be outdated show that we have, besides our weekly shows, that's outdated because he was rolling it was going to come out in July, this, that, and the other thing, and he told us some really cool stuff. He's now got his own vlog and everything that kind of fills us what's going on. But February 26th, so you can essentially still pre-order it. But I'm still excited for it because it's cool. It has the NWA twist to it with Aldis and Nikita Koloff on it, and the Road Warriors are both in it now that, God rest his soul, Animal passed. I'm still excited for it, but man, it's lost its luster a little bit because I pumped it up for many months, and I feel like I let Can Crusher Nation down. But finally, after some major cogs that have been broken and snapped, Mike Herman and his crew say we're going to commit to February 26th. So, guys, it still looks like a great game.
It's lost some momentum, but you'll still love it.
It's probably one of the better wrestling games out there right now that I haven't played. Chad, you got news. So let's talk some news before we do John's shtick.
I'm kind of all over the place, little tidbits. This past week, I believe it was Tuesday, was the 60th birthday of Miss Elizabeth.
Oh, wow.
So happy birthday in heaven. She was a trailblazer. I mean, really liked her work with Randy Savage. Kind of a very sad ending to her life, but her work, for the most part, was, really good.
One of my first crushes in wrestling. I'll say that for a fact.
Yeah, one of the stories I remember about her was years ago when WWE was doing like, hey, win a meet and greet with so and so, a lunch or something. This little 10-year-old kid won his favorite superstar. He could go out and have lunch with him. And his favorite superstar was Miss Elizabeth. Well, she, shows up in a big limo and the kid's all happy, and out gets the Macho Man. He was with Miss Elizabeth. And you'd think, oh, that's really cool. And then you hear behind the scenes, Macho Man was so fucking jealous of her and anybody that he didn't even want her going out to lunch with a 10-year-old kid.
Pat's dad's like that.
It just, 15 years ago, Thursday, we lost, one of the greatest wrestlers, Eddie Guerrero. Remember seeing that and, what come after that and everything. It's a shame Eddie overcome his demons, the drugs and stuff like that, and then, passed away when he was just kind of getting his feet under him and going on another run for the title. Another one, found out an interesting tidbit. We had talked before about the Rocky Johnson book being pulled from Crowbar Press, and found out this week that the reason that it was pulled was because it was found out that Rocky didn't have The Rock write his preface. He screwed Scott Teal of hundreds of thousands of dollars with the book. And he was also brought up on charges for attempted rape of a 12-year-old. He was kicked out of OVW because of his treatment of women and women athletes. So not the greatest guy as we, were made to believe before with him. This little bit weird stuff. And last but not least,
I remember that story. I don't mean to interrupt you. Did anything ever come of those charges, or what happened?
I am been trying to look it up a little bit. It's kind of hard to find things about it from a credible site, but I'm still. Right. I just got this. I think, Mark, I texted you yesterday.
Yeah.
With a clip about it. And what's funny is that book, there was some copies that got out. If you look on eBay or Amazon, $200 for that book.
Yep.
Wow.
Is what the going rate is.
It was just the releases to kind of publicize it. So maybe, you're looking at maybe like 50 got out prior to the whole launch.
And
God, I love Rocky Johnson, man. I do not want that to be true.
yeah. And last but not least, on a good note, my favorite federation is coming back to pay-per-view December 4th. Ring of Honor in Final Battle. Guys, this is one I think we got to do a review on. They're bringing the Briscoes, EC3. If you haven't seen his work, get on Fight TV and watch the free episodes. There's something going on with him and the Briscoes. You're going to have Gresham. All the titles are going to be up. Everybody's back for this.
And that's a Friday night, so that's even cooler.
Yeah.
So that's we're always free on Friday nights, and it's another way to have wings and beer.
Yes, very much so. But that is it.
John, now it's time for your smoke 'em while we got 'em.
Smoke them if you got them. Yes. No, love them while we have them. Last week, we introduced this new segment called Love them while we have them. Chad, in delivering some of his news, talked about several stars we've lost over the years. So what we want to do is sort of praise these people while they're here with us. Last week, Chad, you lucked out. We talked about Vince McMahon. And this week, and I promise you, I'm not just doing this on purpose to piss you guys off or following a pattern here.
Right.
But this week's Love 'em While We Have 'em subject is Stephanie McMahon.
Oh, my God.
Right? It's going to be hard. I know. But I'll go first. Stephanie McMahon was one of the little kids who was trick-or-treating at Roddy Piper's house for the Saturday night's main event Halloween special. She was one of the little kids that rang the doorbell and whatever, gave him hot candy and it burned his mouth. She's not my favorite. I don't think she's great for the business, but what she has done with her position is very commendable. She, I think, spearheaded, or at least was heavily involved in trying to get Scott Hall well. The money they invested, not into the character Scott Hall, not into the NWO coming over to the WWE, but in getting him well, was pretty substantial. And she felt that it was the right thing to do because he was a member of the WWE family. So that's very commendable. Also, we get sick and tired of the constant peek behind the curtain and, hey, we're all just entertainers and this and that. Nevertheless, what she does for kids, whether they've got health issues or whatever the case may be, she goes out of her way for kids. She knows that her line of work appeals to children. She cares about these kids, and she and her husband really go out of their way to make sure these kids enjoy themselves, and in some instances have an experience they will never, ever forget. The meet and greets and bringing somebody into the back and that sort of thing. So thank you, Stephanie McMahon, for all that you do. I forgot what the tagline is for this, Mark. We did it last week, and cheers to being here. That's it. Cheers to being here, Stephanie McMahon.
Chad, you want to go next?
Sure. Well, you're, gazing at your phone like you got trifocals on.
I'm setting up the thumbnail, you dickbag.
Stephanie, positive things. I'm going to say her involvement in wrestling has opened it up for some talent to come in is feuds. Ronda Rousey, as much as I kind of disliked her, but if Stephanie wouldn't have slapped The Rock at WrestleMania, then we wouldn't have gotten Ronda Rousey in. Stephanie's feud with Shane, I'll never forget the look when Shane came back after 7 years of being gone and his music hit, and she turned around like, what in the flying fuck is going on? And then the best one-liner or the best joke I ever heard was at Stephanie's expense when her and Triple H had gotten married and then they were feuding, and Stephanie was making a comment about his little pecker, and Triple H said, even a 747 looks small going into the Grand Canyon.
I thought this was supposed to be nice.
And this was, but it was a good joke. It was one of the, because even she broke. She didn't get pissed. She couldn't get pissed. If you could ever find this clip, she literally busts out fucking laughing when he says this. And it was one of the funniest moments. On a serious note, I got to go with what John said about her, the charity involvement and everything. A lot of the times I felt that the McMahons do stuff just as PR, but when the little boy Connor was involved with WWE and before he passed away and everything that they did, she was spearheading with him. That really showed me a different side of her.
Mine is to echo what you both said with the PR and stuff like that. Essentially, Steffi was a trailblazer for what we're calling the women's revolution. You want to talk about if it was Paige or if it was the Bellas or if it was whomever it was at that point. Steph had her hand in getting everybody like that coming over into the business. So that we wouldn't have Sasha and Charlotte and Bayley and Becky and even Natty probably, right now. So with how she incorporated some talent as well, without a doubt. But I think Steph's biggest thing is her PR. One of our friends from Can Crushers, Colin Maines, we call him Noodle on the show, which if you guys haven't heard him in a year, but nonetheless, his sister was graduating. I don't remember if it was Robert Morris or Duquesne, but Steph goes out and gives a lot of commencement speeches and stuff like that. Colin didn't want to go see his sister graduate. He wanted to go and listen to Steph's commencement speech. So
Robert Morris.
It was all right. Robert Morris. I figure it was one of them. I knew it was in Pittsburgh. So yeah. So he didn't get to go nonetheless. But yeah, it's what she does outside of the wrestling ring, which she brings to the wrestling business. So cheers, Steffi.
Cheers to being here. Next week, because it's not always going to be me bringing a new name. Next week, what? Chad's bringing a name to us, Mark?
Yeah, and let's be shocked on this one, because
right.
Who the hell knows what rabbit hole we're going to go down and how we're going to say something nice. So, guys, we had a great show. Check us out all the time on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at CanCrusher69. In 2 weeks, this is your warning now. This is your warning. Next week, we'll cover the shit show tonight. And then in 2 weeks, we will cover our favorite segment. We'll have another Ask Can Crushers. These two yahoos say they already have questions for us, so we're excited about that. You guys can get them sent in at our email. My God, I can't drink or I can't talk because I drank so much. CanCrusher69@gmail.com. Find us on all the podcast sites, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, ask Alexa to play it, and we're there, guys. Wherever we are, wherever you listen to podcasts, we're on it. So, guys, remember,
just because you're trash, it doesn't mean you can't do great things.
It's called a trash can, fuck it. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.
I'm not editing.